Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, not video. Video won't look good. We have to have some other video over here. But it's okay. It's fine. It's interesting. Okay, sorry about this. So it seems somehow when the Zoom got disconnected, it deleted the whole diagram. Okay, so anyway, the verse is talking about the mind. And it says the mind is basically on the path towards temporary enjoyment. And eventually this leads to entanglement, material entanglement. So we seek temporary pleasures and we end up bound by it. So as a bound body. Now, what is the solution to this? That the mind is like this, what do you say? Shanai, gradually, Shanai is chittam. I'll explain what chitta means, but let's for the time being use the word chitta to refer to the mind. So what it gradually says, we want to get the mind to rise upwards. We want to change the default tendency of the mind. And we want the mind to go towards Mai Asakta Manaha. We want the mind to become attached to Krishna. And what is the process for this? It's interesting. Two words are used over here. One is Shanai. Shanai means gradually. But the other word is Tivre. Tivre is serious. So how can there be gradual and serious? So we say that serious means fast. Gradual means relax. It's not serious. So gradual and serious. Generally, the word Tivre is translated as intense. But the word intense, especially as it is used in America, it doesn't always have positive knowledge. He's a very intense person. That means not that he's very serious, he's very overbearing. He's a domineering kind of person. So if you say you are very intense, they will think of people will use that as criticism. Oh, you're intense. Okay. If we say that somebody is intense, that person will become tense. And then it becomes tense. So let's read the verse. So what is saying is that bhakti yoga in a way, that by serious practice of bhakti, it will gradually redirect the mind. And what does it say? Okay, this also will do. Of this also shut down. It's fine. Viratya Chanaya question. In this way, you get the mind to become detached. So detached means the mind's default tendency. The mind's default tendency is to go downward. It becomes detached. So basically, as it's moving upward, it's very detached. So now let's see how this happens. So here the word uses chittam. Now, what exactly is chitta? If you consider this is the Atma, the soul. Now, next to the soul is the subtle body, which we can say, for simple purpose, is the mind. Mind is the shorthand. So there is the ego, mind, all three are there. But we can use the words for simplicity. The mind is the entire subtle body. And then there is the gross body. And then there is here the outer world. And the outer world contains various objects. In this case, the various sense objects, the temporary things towards which we are attracted. So chitta, now if we consider the Atma has three characteristics. What are they? Yes, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So now so chit is a characteristic of the Atma. Chit means conscious. So the soul wants to exist, the soul wants to know, and the soul wants to experience joy. These are the innate natures of the soul. So sun wants to exist. We see all living beings want to exist. So chit is its conscious. Another way of saying chit is curiosity. Everybody has curiosity, want to know things. So to want to exist, to want to know, want to enjoy. All these three are innate characteristics of all living beings. And that's why from the day arise from this soul. Now in human beings, because the consciousness is more developed, they manifest in more sophisticated ways. So now the soul's consciousness, when it manifests in this world, it manifests through the mechanism of the mind. So this manifested consciousness is called as chitta. So chit and chitta are two slightly different things. So to understand this, another example, let's consider what Krishna said in 13:22 with the Bhagavad Purushaha prakrtisthodi bhumte prakrtijanana karanam purasambhosya sat asat yogiyamsu. So consider a person, say a person is watching a TV. Now when you're watching the TV, that person can be looking at other things also. You can look around in the room. You can turn and look back. There are various areas where the person can look. But suppose that person is in a very dark room, like when you go into the movie theater. Two things happen. One set of lights go off and the other light goes on. Isn't it? So the attention goes straight to the movie screen, big screen that is there. And that's where we get focused, not focused, fixated. Even if we look around, we will not be able to see much, unless there's some little light. So for the soul, basically the soul's capacity to perceive, that is chit. That is chit. So every soul, its innate capacity is chit. That is to perceive, to know. But when the soul comes in the embodied condition, then the soul's consciousness in one sense gets locked onto the screen. The screen is the mind. And the soul can see nothing except what is in the screen. So now the consciousness that manifests over here is chitta. So chit is simply consciousness, whereas chitta is conditioned or embodied consciousness. Now, one of the fundamental teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is that Avinashi Tatvidhi Yena Sarvam Idam. That which pervades the entire body is indestructible. That comes from the soul. That is consciousness. So consciousness is spiritual in the sense that consciousness is a characteristic of the soul. That's what the Gita says in 270. But the same Gita later, when it is talking about Sankhya, it gives 13.6 and 7. It talks about the analysis of the material world that is done in the system of philosophy in the Sankhya. And there, it first lists the various elements. Mahabhuta, Nyankara, Uttir, Avyaktamecha. Indriyan, Dashekamcha, Panchachedriyakocha. So it describes these material elements, the 24 material elements. But significantly, after that, it is Ichha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham, Sanghatash, Chetana, Bhuti. Etat, Kshetram, Samasena, Savikaram, Udhartam. So it is saying Chetana. What does Chetana mean? Consciousness. But it says Chetana is a characteristic of the Kshetra. It's Chetana, here they say, it is not a characteristic of the soul. The soul is spiritual. There is Purusha. Kshetra is Prakriti, it is matter. So it is saying Chetana is a characteristic of the material. of matter. So how can Chaitanya be a characteristic of matter? Krishna is referring to this consciousness. The conditioned consciousness is a characteristic of the transformation of material nature. So this consciousness is spiritual for everyone. But this conditioned consciousness is a product of, is a result of transformation of material nature. Kshetra vikara, Krishna says. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram vidharitam. So I'll explain why this is a little technical, but I'll explain why this is important to understand. This kshetra vikara. This is the transformation of consciousness, or the transformation of matter that leads to conditioned consciousness. So, for example, all living beings eat. That is needed for the subsistence. But depending on the condition in the mind, now, if that soul is born in a body, that is something. Then, okay, nice food means idli sambar. If somebody is not born in North India, it means parathas. Somebody is born in Gujarat, then what is a Gujarati snack? Dokla. Okay. No, sorry. Kaman dokla. Okay. So, maybe somebody is born in America, you have sandwich, or somebody born in Italy, it leads pizza. Okay. So now the consciousness is coming from the soul. But the particular desires that characterize that consciousness, those are a result of Kshetra Vikar. Those are the results. This Chaitanya, and Krishna is describing this. Krishna talks about it too. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sandhatas Chaitanya bhati. So he says the characteristic that he's talking about Ichha dvesha. So when there is Ichha and the Ichha is fulfilled, we get sukha. When the desire is fulfilled. But there is dvesha. There's some food I just don't like. And if I get that food, then there is dukkha. Isn't it? So generally we would like to get what we desire and avoid what we don't desire. Often life gives us what we don't desire, and life takes away what we desire. So ichha dvesha sukham dukkha. And that this is good and this is bad. That this is good, this is bad. For that we have driti, we have certain convictions. So now, is paratha really better than dosa? Well, not really. It depends on who you ask. But a person who is, like you say, if you consider, let's put food aside, is consider sports. Now, sometimes some people are fans of a particular team. And now, generally, in the past days, affections of the fans were based on nationalities. But now we have this Premier League. In India, there's a big IPL. Is it well known here also? It is something like basketball league or something like that. Then, it's really not much to do with geography. So somebody, the players from playing for Chennai may not be from Chennai at all. But still, they're big fans of this. And they'll say, this is the best team. The other team, that team. Now why? That is a Chaitanya, that is a conviction. That person has got that conviction that this is good and this is bad. And that conviction about this is desirable, if I get it, it's enjoyable. This is not desirable, if I get it, it's miserable. That conviction drives the person's life. And it's significant. See, for most of us, there are needs and then there are desires. And we could say if needs are not fulfilled, that's definitely misery and that needs to be avoided. Say, for example, food is a need. And that if I don't get any food to eat, then that's definitely misery. So we could say need is food. So it's present. There is, okay, at least I put it, it's absent. There is dukkha. See, the challenge with the needs is that when they are not fulfilled, there is misery. But when they are fulfilled, there is not much happiness. If there are some people say, why are you spending so much time chanting Hare Krishna? You should feed the hungry people. Yeah, of course, we also feed the hungry people. We have food relief organizations. But the only problem in the world is not hunger. If that were the case, yeah, hunger is a state of misery. But are all the well-fed people happy? No, they have their own set of needs. So there are needs and then there are desires. So not fulfilling the needs leads to misery. There's no doubt. And that's why when sometimes people talk about, say, wealth and happiness, there is some people, if you tell them, money does not make you happy. They say, only people who have money say this. And there is some truth to that. If I don't have food to eat, then money does equate with happiness. I get some food to eat. Maybe it does not equate with happiness. It equates with relief from misery. And the relief from misery is also seen as happiness. So at least to some degree, there is a linear correlation between as wealth increases, happiness does increase. But after that, it becomes uncreative. It's not necessary that more money will lead to more happiness. So making money is important. But what we are making with money is even more important. So here, it's making money. At a basic level, to fulfill our needs, making money is important. But after that, it is what we are making with money. If somebody is, their only purpose in life is making money, they're not making something of value, maybe raising their children to have a good education for them, or maybe making some build something for society where you can employ people, where you can do some social service work, or do something spiritual, contribute to some higher cause. If you're not contributing to some higher cause, then money will not bring happiness. So yeah, if we have something big to live for, and then the more money we have, the more service we can. So why we are talking about this over here is, see, as far as needs, there's no issue of conviction over there. It's just a reality that without food we'll die. Without food we'll be miserable. Say if it's cold and we don't have warm enough clothes, we'll be miserable. That's just a reality. But our desires, at the fulfillment, we have particular desires. So we can say it is particular food. So the need is food, but the desire is particular food. I want this food. Say to have shelter, to have a home is a need. But to have a particular kind of home, that's a desire. Now, it's not that I'm saying desires are bad. So the most subtle point over here. So each one of us has certain convictions that these desires, if they are fulfilled, they will bring me happiness. And if these desires are not fulfilled, that will be miserable. So here, if we get this happiness. And if I don't get, this is distress. Now we could say, now here, the point is, and this is what I'm trying to say about here is, see, this is matter of reality. If needs are fulfilled, then that gives us relief. Needs are not fulfilled, that's misery. But this is more a matter of conviction. Now here, when the three is used, Krishna will talk about how the conviction can be goodness, passion, and goodness. So the conviction does not necessarily reflect reality. Somebody thinks that there's one I think Western thinker, he said that the taste of wine is the proof that God loves us. So if God did not love us, how would there be something as tasty as wine existing? Is that really that proof that God loves us? Yeah. Actually, yeah, for a person who's attached to that, that's their conviction. But there are so many higher tests of God loving us. More evidences might be there. But that's the conviction. And so we all have different convictions based on of what will make us happy and what will cause us misery. And these arise from conditioned consciousness. And this conditioning of consciousness is something which is for different people deep rooted to different degrees. So, for example, somebody in India is attached to it, and then they come to America and maybe they are in the university over here, and they have the big game is baseball. And soon after a few months, they forget cricket and just become cheering madly for baseball. So we could say that particular conviction that this team should win and this should happen and that should happen. That conviction was not very deep. But somebody comes from India to America and they know nothing about American sports, they're constantly following Indian sports. Then that means their conviction is my happiness is not dependent on which sports team in my local college or local area is. It's on which team in India is, which player is this, which player does that. So this conviction is to different degrees for different people. And it is this conviction that needs to be changed. It is, we could say, we have our mental conviction. Now, conviction, this mental conviction causes our material conviction. Now, conviction has like faith, but conviction also means sentencing. A criminal was convicted for 10 years. So it is like sentencing. So based on the kind of conviction a person has, accord in their mind, this is what will give you happiness. Based on that, their entanglement in material existence. So the material conviction refers to sentencing of bondage. So if the bondage, the mental conviction is tamasic, if I just get enough to drink every day, my life is good. Then that conviction will lead to that person going deep into thoughts. Some people are so convinced. Once two friends went to drink, and one of them was drinking very, very much. And the second person, you should stop. No, I'm going to drink. And the next morning, this first friend woke up with a splitting hangover headache. I knew it was a terrible idea. He was muttering to himself. I knew it was a terrible idea. But the second friend said, say, no, you don't drink so much. Drinking so much is a terrible idea. I said, no, drinking a lot was a great idea. Waking up was a terrible idea. So, when a particular person has a particular conviction, they will reinterpret reality according to their conviction. So, their idea of happiness would be drink a lot and just sleep a lot. So, just go into oblivion. So, depending on the kind of conviction a person has, that person will be to that extent entangled in material. And at one level, if you consider this as pure devotee, this is pure devotion, this should be suffering. Now, from one perspective, anything other than Shuddha Sattva is material. It is mundane. It is going to keep us entangled. So, we could say this is spiritual and this is material. This is, to the extent a person is Shuddha Sattva, their conviction is that it is only loving Krishna and serving Krishna that is the source of happiness. It is. So here the conviction is that Krishna is the source of happiness. That if I come closer to Krishna, I'll be happy. If I go away from Krishna, I'll be in distress. So Krishna, the conviction is Krishna centered. Now, apart from the spiritual, everything material is entangled. Now, this is one way of looking at it. And it is a fairly, it is accurate that any Krishnetara will keep us entangled. Having said that, there are categories. Within our own philosophy, we understand that within this material, there are three broad categories, which are like three categories within the material. Yes. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And nowadays I prefer the Sanskrit words because the English words often have different connotations. Like if you were the word Rajas for passion, most people think passion is a good thing. Discover your passion. And their idea is passion means that which gives you the meaning and purpose to your life, that which gives you drive. So when we use the word more passion, we are using it in slightly negative sense. So it's what I wish that these words are not very long. So we explain the word and use those words. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So now, in general, in each of these brings with it its own convictions about what will bring me happiness and what will cause me distress. So in Tamas, broadly speaking, the mode of ignorance, the idea is the key thing is escapism. Escape from reality. To the extent a person can succeed in doing that, a person is happy. That escape can be from watching TV, it can be from video games, it can be from alcohol and drugs, it can be just by sleeping a lot, whatever it is. The more a person can do that, that the person thinks is happiness. And such people, for them, there is no inclination even to do something material responsible. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that actually, for such people, sometimes the Rajoguna can actually be a necessary antidote to the poison of the moon. Sometimes say all the modes are equal. And so Sattva is better, but Rajas and Tamas are equal. But no, Rajas and Tamas are also different. Say somebody is just taking drugs and watching movies and is wasting their life. And if that person takes responsibility for something, maybe that person has a child, or that person's relatives pass away, they get the responsibility of taking care of the child. Oh, this child depends on me. I have to take care of this. Now, for taking care of that child, if they get that sense, I have to stop drinking. I cannot hurt this child. I take care. Now, there is nothing spiritual in that. But it's just, oh, this is my child. This is because it's my care, not it's my relative, my blood, or whatever. That sense of needing to take of wanting to take care of something beyond oneself, even if it is totally a political purposes, that is also better than the mood. So Rajas basically is control of matter. That is what we see. Control of matter means it could be that, okay, I have this home, I want a bigger home. I have this car, I want a faster car, better car. It could be I want to control my material surroundings. Now, at one level, this can lead to frustration because we can't control everything. But at another level, this is good. Like if somebody has their room, which is like a royal mess, and it is no, that person, okay, I will keep my room. Now that can become sometimes people have like they're fastidious, they are like super obsessed with cleanliness. Sorry? OCD, yeah. Some people can have. But Rajoguna means that there's some need, the conviction that things have to be ordered, things have to be controlled. And that is not a bad thing. And to the extent they can control things and make things work the way they want, they think, okay, let's have this. When things are going out of control, then that is unhappiness. So that is Rajoguna. Sattva is not so much associated with the conviction is here that it is not so much controlling matter. It is more of understanding how things work. including math. If I can understand how things work, that person gets some joy. Now, they may use that understanding to control things sometimes, but that controlling is not their primary goal. Jnana, Sattvat, Sanjayati, Jnana. Okay, this works like this, works like this, works like this. So broadly, we can say science is in Sattva. Technology is in Rajoguna. Science is more about knowing how things work. Technology is more about control. Okay, we want to get this like this, we want to make this work like this. So if we consider in Sattva, if a person just can't understand why is this happening like this, so people in Sattva have a need to figure things out. Okay, why did this person behave like this? We say everybody needs it. But for some people, really, you can't figure something out, just forget it. There's so many other things to do. For Sattva, why does this person speak like this? Why does this person do like this? Whether it is things or people, they have a need to figure things out. Now, the modes are complicated. And what I'm giving is a simple analysis. There are always nuances. But the point I'm saying is that each mode will bring with it certain convictions. So, for somebody who's a scientist, for example, you can just understand how something in nature works. There's so much joy, euphoria in that. The classic example of Archimedes, we understood the principle of what is it, specific gravity, why the metal with gold was floating. And he just forgot that he was undressed in the bathroom, he just ran to the king to tell what. So this is he's not just being shameless, he's just completely fix it on that level. So that's just an excess of proof. Now, broadly speaking, all these convictions, they arise, they are features of the conditioned consciousness. They are the features of, so all of these are the features of Chitta. Now, this at one level is Chitta. The pure consciousness is naturally attracted to Krishna. And in one sense, the journey in our life is Charan, gradually deviated bhakti. It is from wherever we are, from here, this is the journey that we want to go. So, this is essentially the spiritual journey. That from our present convictions to the ultimate conviction that Krishna is the source of all happiness, that loving and serving Krishna is what will bring joy in my life. Now, when we are practicing bhakti, we may have different convictions. And we could say, as a way of classifying this, that tamas, from a devotional perspective, this is anti-devotion. Tamasic convictions, they actively are hostile to the Rajas. So Rajas is more non-devotional. A person who is too much in Rajoguna, for them, it's not that they may be atheistic, they may be materialistic, but for them, it's not that God is non-existent. It's even if he's existent, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I don't care if God exists. Because their interests are controlling matter. And if praying to God can help them control matter, they will turn to God. But for them, it is primarily the Rajasic convictions are non-devotional. Generally, the Sattvic convictions are pro-devotional. Why pro-devotional? Because Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So in Sattva, it is in Sattva that one starts inquiring, what is going on in this life? How does the world work? What is the purpose of the world? How does my mind work? Why does it work in particular ways? So all that is very conducive for spiritual growth. And essentially, the spiritual journey involves, if you consider spiritual journey, that is what? The spiritual journey is our present conditions, whatever they are, we want to go towards devotional conditions. So bhakti is not just a matter of, say, waking up in the morning or doing our japa attentively, or doing a particular amount of funds, or restoring a particular quantity of those. All those are important, no doubt. But through this, our internal conviction needs to change. Gradually, our internal conviction that it is Krishna and Krishna alone who is the source of ultimate happiness. And so now, Shanai, and I'll conclude with this point, Shanai and Tibare, we said that this is the paradoxical opposition in this verse. How can there be gradual and there be serious? So it is, we are serious in our practice. So whatever practices we are doing, that is theory. We try to do our sadhana as well as we can. We study scriptures. That is theory. But this change of conviction, will be Shanai. This may not change immediately. So gradual change in conviction. It's now, of course, it doesn't have to be gradual all the time for everyone, but there are some convictions which will change very gradually, and that is okay because it just started talking about how deep certain conditions are in us. It takes time. So for somebody, that conviction may be that if you serve Krishna, be happy. Okay. But there must be a place to mute it. Okay. So for all of us, these convictions may change gradually. And that means that it's not that if we grew up, somebody grew up very poor, and for them, wealth was very, very important because they were not a survival of wealth. And if for them, okay, there is, as compared to Krishna, wealth is insane. That will just not be acceptable. They will give 100 reasons and practical things. You cannot serve Krishna. Somebody who grew up maybe being always looked down and scorned and disrespected, maybe for whatever reason, and if they go and tell them that actually honor and dishonor don't care about. Actually the answers are made of grass. Praise is like what is the thing? Mother Goswami says it's like souls. Yeah, so it is like a stool of pig. Honor is important. You cannot live without honor. So we all, from our particular background, will have certain convictions. For somebody, wisdom, understanding is important. You tell them this is inconceivable. Whenever if any question is answered with inconceivable, they will find it intolerable. They will say saying it's inconceivable is just your escapism. When you're using it, escape giving answers. And then I say, why are you so agitated about it? And they will say, why are you not agitated about it? They are agitated about something and then they are agitated while others are not agitated. So you need to understand that everyone has their present convictions. And the journey from that present conviction to, we could say, the conviction that Krishna and Krishna alone are central. That will be gradual. And we need to be patient with that journey. We might be, for somebody grew up, as I said, somebody grew up in a reasonably wealthy family. For them, there's something that Krishna is much more important than wealth. And that's easy to accept because they never had the pinch of poverty at all. So now, does that mean that they are more advanced? They look careful. Maybe not. It depends. It could be that they genuinely very advanced in their absorption. But just because somebody has given up one conviction does not mean that they have embraced the higher conviction. For somebody, maybe from the childhood, they were always detached from maybe eating lots of delicious food. And they can fast very easily, they can do simple food. And does that mean that they're necessarily detached? Well, maybe not. That was just their past habit continuing on this. For them, the conviction that health is more important than taste. That is just natural for them. So that's why in bhakti, when we are evaluating our own spiritual advancement or when we are evaluating other spiritual advancement, now we need to focus more on what conviction a person has rather than what conviction the person is giving. Or their convictions about renunciation are important, but their convictions about dedication to Krishna are even more important. So that is the concluding point. We're talking about defining conviction in bhakti. There are many convictions that are important in bhakti. So, but then among the various convictions in bhakti, there is convictions about renunciation. They are important, no doubt, but they are not the most important. There are convictions about dedication. That means we need to offer our entire being to Krishna. Those convictions are actually much more important. So, for example, the Bhagavatam, there's example, there is the story of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni was renunciate. And there is never any description of any problem that he had with respect to lust. The various Puranas, he just had issues with anger, but never with lust. So, in that sense, he's renounced. That conviction of renunciation is there for him. But still, Ambarish Maharaj is considered to be a far greater because Savarina Krishna that Ambarish Maharaj is much more dedicated in offering his entire being to Krishna. So, the themes of this convictions about bhakti, about this is very. We try to practice bhakti seriously so that we can develop this conviction more. But the conviction about renunciation, this will be gradual. We would like it to be faster, but it depends on our past, whether it will happen that fast or it won't be that fast. So in this way, we can all move from material existence, from material consciousness towards emotional consciousness, towards becoming that soul in Krishna. So I'll summarize the discussion. I talked broadly about the process of serious devotional service, or serious practice of bhakti yoga. What does it involve? So I started by explaining the verse that how the chitta needs to be redirected, the mind, the consciousness needs to be redirected from the temporary to Krishna. That's the essence of the verse. And then in that connection, we discussed what is the chitta. So the soul, the mind, the body, and the conditioned consciousness that's coming out is chitta. So that is chitta is the consciousness as a faculty, as the energy of the soul. Chitta is the embodied consciousness. And then this is how this is spiritual. One is spiritual, one is more material condition. And then we talked about how the growth, spiritual growth, means essentially elevation of conviction. That whatever convictions we have presently, from there we rise towards higher convictions. From the conviction that wealth is the source of happiness to Krishna is the source of happiness. That is the elevation of convictions. In that connection, I talked about how there can be spiritual convictions and there can be various material convictions. Now, the material convictions, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are three different things. Sattva is pro-emotional, Rajas is non-emotional, Tamas is anti-emotional. So, from wherever we are, we want to move towards Krishna. And in our journey of elevating our consciousness, that inner transformation, we are tivra, we accept gradual shunning about the condition centered on renunciation. Because that giving up will be gradual. But tivra will be our dedication to the practice of bhakti. By this, gradually each one of us can become elevated and we can become absorbed with Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare. Are there any questions or comments? Yes. Yes. Yes, very much.
So, a person maybe particular situation or particular subject or object and it is morning, you operate in the afternoon, in operate in the operate sattva. So, how
Can you just ask them to silence? Yeah, please go.
how do I operate only on sattva, but because I have their conditions, irrespective of the kinds of and subjects people.
Okay, so how can you always be sattva? Well, frankly, it's difficult. In one sense, there's no need to demonize the other modes also. See, every mode has been created by Krishna. And we say tamas is bad. But actually, tamas is also the inactivity. And if at night we are not able to sleep, I have to do this, I have to do that, and this, what will happen? Like if Rajas is controlling us even at time to sleep, if tamas doesn't come, it's a big problem. If we don't sleep at the right time, we will sleep at the wrong time. So that's what happens. So in one sense, every mood has its value. Rajas is about creation. A devotee wants to create more and more new things for Krishna. And at that time, we will be, to some extent, we will not do something big. Rajas will be involved with it. So it is that more like a devotee. This is in Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now, as far as possible, how it works is the devotees initially will be clear, but the devotee gradually comes to Sattva and uses each of these for serving Krishna. So, for example, when a devotee is sleeping, devotee is actually using tamas and Krishna service. So you get good rest, then you can serve Krishna. So some devotees may use rajas. Some devotees may have the ambition to do big things in Krishna's service. So when Maharaj Yudhishthira performed the Rajasuli Yajna, it was a huge endeavor. And he was sending armies to different directions, fighting if required, winning, then making the logistics for a huge sacrifice. Certainly the purpose was there. But the purpose was to ultimately glorify Krishna. So it's not that we need to always be sattva. For some people, always being sattva will not only be difficult, it will be impossible, like torture for them. So for some people, okay, maybe the philosophy, the class is the most important thing in their life, in devotional life. And other things, okay, just do them. Have to do them because service. But for some people, class, okay, how long is class going to go on? So many other things to do. Now, does that mean that they don't have taste for Krishna? They have taste for Krishna, but not necessarily the Shravan Kirtan. Is that lower? Maybe it is. But if their taste is still to serve Krishna, then that is auspicious. We are doing this festival, we build this temple, we do that. So that's why Kena Kena Prakaram that somehow we have to fix the mind. Sometimes we try to push everyone to fix their mind with Krishna in one particular way. And every devotee can have their own course for them. Some devotees, they want to chant 64 rounds every day. Is there anybody who doesn't chant 64 rounds? Seriously. And it's God, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam. And then somebody else says, Kang Ho book distribution. If you want to please me distribute books. Now, yes, you want to please me distribute books, but that does not mean if you don't distribute books, you are displeasing me. That is not necessarily implication. So it's important that we find the way we can best observe Krishna. And if somebody is absorbed Krishna, then trying to evaluate their mood is not really very helpful. Unless that is either hurting them or hurting others. Then maybe it is some boundary thing to be set. Does that answer your question? Yes. You are one question from you seems to be guaranteed in every class.
What is the Rajas in English? Rajas means hard. What is Sattva and Tamas mean in English?
Okay. So generally these words, good question. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So often the translations that we use are passion, ignorance, and goodness. But the thing is that English language changes. The meanings of word change. So like Srila Prabhupada would use the word cult. The cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spreading all over the world. But not today if you ask, so we are here to spread our cult. Really get out. We don't use the word cult at all because it has a negative connotation. The similar thing, the word passion now has a positive connotation. So it's generally Rajas refers to energy. There's high energy. It could be high energy, could lead to good activity, it could be bad activity. Goodness refers to more to clarity. So high energy or activity. It is clarity or two things are there, clarity and piety. Or you could say virtue. That the person has clear understanding and they function well. So it is not really, there's no one word that I have been able to find which really succinctly describes the moods. It's almost like Sanskrit non-translated. That's why I prefer to use this word. So it's lethargy or it's also intoxication. It doesn't mean alcohol necessarily, but intoxicated in some way or the other, inability. By which a person forgets what they are doing. Or wants to forget what is going on. So that way, so these three modes, they basically refer to different ways in which a person tends to function in the world. So if you are right, so in a particular mode, a particular way of thinking, a particular way of looking at the world, and a particular way of acting in the world is involved. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Like in Tamas, like when we find a set of things, so should we go through the Rajas and then it actually comes to Sattva, but how you are saying the conviction to have it improve, it's just not clarity.
Yeah.
To improve the conviction, how you are saying is it is like slow, Shana. And but to do that, we need to see the bhakti or the devotion activity. So, but when we are in Tamas, so is it that going to Rajas and then going to Sattva, or is that the way of our thinking, or just coming out of Tamas is my goal, or what should be like right now I'm trying to start within the Tamas some activity. What should my goal be? Going to Rajas in this activity?
Okay, I got the question. So do we go gradually through one mode towards the highest mode, or is it we just directly go? Well, again, it's anything at the time. It depends what works for us. So overall, our consciousness will rise upward incrementally. But specifically, it is which activity we inspire to. That will vary from person to person. Sometimes the person might be in complete tamas, still there. But if they at that time hear some meditative kirtan, They might like that. They get lost in the words. Is it like a shortcut from ignorance to transcendence? Many times it is in Higashbury in San Francisco, many people would come for the Mangala. Not because they would wake up, because that's how they were coming down. They had taken drugs and diet, they were high. And they would come down now from their high, it's like smooth wave coming down. So, okay, that means I envy your ignorance. Okay, so people would take drugs and then they feel like they've gone somewhere higher and they feel, oh, I'm higher. They have this term called LSD saint. You know, you take an LSD and become a saint, you're getting special visions now. They would go higher and experience all kinds of things. But when they would come down, that means their consciousness would come down. That would often be a very unpleasant and disorienting experience. This come crashing. So, but what would happen is they would come up with the they would hear some spiritual music, some soothing. Okay, that high is going off, but I'm going to some other high. So it's not this crashing down. So just like people experience hangover after taking alcohol. So people have that experience of when they come out of the drug-induced high, it's not a very pleasant experience. So I was saying that now, is it that from that tamoguna they suddenly transcendence? Well, in that particular case, it worked like that. Because that's good. So for some people, from tamoguna, maybe rajoguna is what works first, and then they come to sattva. Some people it's different. So whatever works, we have to find out what way we can raise our consciousness the fastest.
We can even stay in Rajas and also serve Krishna. But it's that our goal is to go to sattva or go devotional. But sometimes we are like super passionate and can also stay in the Rajas. But slowly we are
Yes, slowly. Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yes, last question.
It's an observation. So very nice analytical, spiritual class. So my question is with respect to use that how do you find the balance between appreciation and encouragement? So I mean, of course, there are some people who are they are naturally born with taste for the quality, taste for genetics, etc. So they do the process quite easily, quite quickly, whereas others may not be. So for those others, how to appreciate them, but at the same time, they should also get the message that um, they should take up the process. So how to appreciate them so that they can be encouraged to take up the process.
Okay. If by youth you're talking about devotee kids or young people in general? Or, okay. Yeah. Actually, today afternoon I was going to speak on this topic itself. The Gita is different in personal relationships and how much to push others and how much to not push others. But essentially, say one key principle is that there are people's felt needs, and then there are the ultimate needs. So everybody's ultimate need is Krishna. But at different stages in life, we have different felt needs. If somebody is sick, their primary felt need is health. If somebody is poor, their primary felt need is money. So we have different felt needs. And if these two are non-intersecting, then basically, if the ultimate needs are seen as disconnected with the felt needs, if you just forget your felt needs and focus on your ultimate needs, then the message doesn't exist. It just appears irrelevant. So it is, the message is irrelevant. These two are not the same. And that's why it is the expertise of the teacher of Krishna Bhakti to find out some intersection. And this is the area of presence. You see, what Srila Prabhupada says is realization. He says to present the message in a way that is interesting to audience. Now, interesting is actually an interesting word. You could say interesting means that it addresses the interests of what is interesting for me is something that relates with my interests. That we could say interesting can be connected with 5 needs. So what are the 5 needs right now? It is for us to understand that. And once we understand the 5 needs, then we see how bhakti can address those 5 needs. So now for youth, especially for those who have grown up in bhakti, one of the things is that they are now going into the bigger world and they have to carve out their identity there. And when they are trying to carve out their identity in maybe the teenage circles, in the youth circles, then often they feel that their devotional identity is a liability for them. They feel embarrassed about it. They feel, okay, this is not good. I can't eat this, I can't do this, I can't do that. There's so many restrictions in it. So now we'll find out things within bhakti that can give them a sense of value from within their circumstances. So, for example, the fact that we are vegan, that is increasingly becoming good. That is something which is quite good. Now, if the kids can engage in some volunteer work, not just come to a temple and get classes, but engage in some activities, which they can talk about with their friends. So I know one place where the devotee kids would never come to the temple, and then they started like a food for life initiative, which was run by the devotee kids, and they would go to the places and they would serve food. So they would not come to the temple just to even take prasad or to hear class, but they started coming for that because that's something they can talk about with them. This is what I do in my faith. This is what I do in my practice. And that's not what is going to appeal to all kids, but especially today's youth, volunteerism and activism. Activism is a big thing. And say we have a farm, and they go there and they do some activities, the environmental movement, eco-friendly activities, are something which is also very big. So we have to find something which they can present as, which will in one sense add value to their life as it is right now. So music would be another thing. Kirtan is also becoming, Kirtan was traditional singing, religious form, but now it was religious music. It is also becoming meditative music. It is also becoming quite attractive. Not all forms of Kirtan, but certain forms of Kirtan are. It says that that when we go out and dance in streets, people just think that okay, yeah, that's something which people belonging to particular religious group do. But when you have Kirtan as a musical concert, a lot of people will come and sit and participate. So if our kids learn Kirtans, and not just for doing in the temple, but they help them to form a team where they can actually do a musical concert. And then they can present that in their among their peer circles. That gives them some kind of value. So when they are just trying to form their material identity in the world, and that time we tell them to practice spiritual life. Okay, it's important, but I have struggles and challenges right now. How is it adding value to my life? So we need to, this is the broad principles I give, or broad examples I give. But if we can find out what their felt needs are and see how within bhakti those felt needs can be addressed, then that can be very helpful. Okay, so one is of course, rational explanations. There are many things in bhakti which they grew up with as a part of their culture. But when they want to talk about with others, they may not have the rational explanation for this in a way they can explain. Now, for many of us, we may have grown up in a particular culture, so it has not been a big question for us. And even if it's a question, the way we explain may not be what registers with them. That's not necessarily the way they can explain it. So they have to find out their needs, their felt needs, and see at least how some of those felt needs can be addressed. And if that can be addressed, I would say one of the biggest felt need is a social circle. So if devotee kids can also form a nice social circle where maybe they are all geographically at one place, that's the best. But if they are not, then at least there are occasions where they can get together. Otherwise, at that, they just feel that because, see, teenage is already a time where a person feels very insecure. That's just the nature of that age in life. And on top of that, if they feel that my spirituality is making me more alienated and isolated from others, then they will see spirituality as a liability. So we need to address their felt needs. Okay. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Respect to the Charan Prabhu ji ki.
Now, we have class in afternoon.
Spain, the book.
Okay.
I guess today. You want to pay back that?
So Prabhu, yeah, sure. Just a minute. No, Nandani Krishna was here.
Is,
He was here.
yes, but he did not say, he might have left.
Okay. You know, the one devotee he had sent who has,
No.
no, who knows a little about sound system. He will be here also. Basically, I have to get this mic to work.
Okay, we do Chaitanya Prabhu, yes.
Maybe you don't know. You know, so he said, can you just give it to him and see if he can
Okay.
figure it out? Basically, what I want is, but also he had said, also he had said that there's one day I was trying to do some photography. Maybe just ask him if he's available. Just call him.
Okay.
Two things, you know, basically photo shoot. Shri Nam Prabhu here. You know, Shri Nam Prabhu.
Sri Harinam.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. No, you can take. I'll take at 12 o'clock afterwards. I'll be here for some time. आप थोड़ा नाश्ता ले लो कोई. आप नाश्ता ले लो.
Prabhuji, one of the class that is as the Asia from
Yeah.
so devotee car congregations, they were asking questions. So one of the devotee will ask me, chant and say, I've seen so many people chanting. So his answer was saying it funny. He said, we have never said chant and you will be. We said chant, it's a separate thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a parallel. It's a whole class on this. This chant and be happy, like a causal instruction, or is it on the spiritualscientist.com, my website? Is it a causal instruction or is it a parallel instruction? Parallel means two separate instructions, or is it one that will lead to second? So both are true, but in the initial stage, it is that we need to treat it as two parallel instructions. That chant and try to cultivate happiness as 1:22. Atavai kavajo nityam bhaktim paramayamudha vasudeve bhakvati kurvanti atprasadani. So that verse has that paradox. Krishna says, Sutta Goswami says that the sages practice with great joy the process of bhakti, which brings ultimate joy. So the idea is that I am, if I have been sick for a long time, And now I've got the medicine I'm going to cure. I've not become healthy, but I'm happy that I've got the medicine. So chant and be happy means chant and be happy that we have the medicine to cure ourselves of our unhappiness. But it's not that we are already cured. So if we expect right now I'll be cured, chanting is not a pain medication. It's a deep cure and it takes time. Okay. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So line, he has some specific questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat, Prabhu. Yes, Krishna's mercy, I'm fine. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
After the class.
Okay, basically, I'll tell you what my need is. That two main things are there. That when I'm giving classes, or rather when I'm traveling, devotees want to make posters for my classes. And for that, we don't have a lot of good photos. That's one thing. And second is that when my talks and other things are put on social media, we want photos for thumbnails. So thumbnails need to be a little more close-ups. So those are the two main things. Mm. Mm. So you're saying that you will take this in live class, or you? So yeah, that's a challenge. If you feel that I could, if we have some kind of a proper lighting place, I could just act like I'm speaking a class. I could do some recording, and we could take photos at that time also. Okay, so today what time will you like? Okay, so um, yes, Prabhu, I'm coming for Sunday feast. So yeah, that was the plan. I'm going back now. Let me think. Okay. If it is, yeah, so I can come back by 12:30 if you want, but at the time there'll be a lot of noise around. Sunday feast before that, no? So we'll do it in an upstairs room or something like that. Where will you do it? Yeah, the thing is that say I take lunch at 12. Today anyway I'm going to 12 at 11:30, a little earlier. So it's going to be a little difficult. Okay, let me think. Now, how much time do we need? How much time do we need basically? Yeah. So okay, and you can do this in the temple, or do you want to do it in some devotee's house nearby? Temple is good enough. See, right now, my concern would be that where do we get the best quality photos? So if you feel it's better at your okay, and for you to set up in the temple will take how much time? And the same setup you do it at your home also. Artificial. Hmm. Okay, then let's do it in the temporary somewhere because in case I get I don't mind coming to your home, but in case it gets late, then it will nothing. Okay, so yes, I'll be there at 12:30, and the session is either 1 or 1:15.
1:15.
1:5. So at 12:30, 12:40, at 12:30 I should be there. So we have some time before that. Then perfect. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
We are going to his house at 12:30, Prabhuji.
He said he will come.
He'll come. Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu said he'll take about 10 minutes to come here. Prabhuji. He's not here in the temple at this time.
Just give me call, talk with him and explain to him
Okay.
whether this.
Okay, you can call it since you already spoke with him.
So I kept one set of clothes in my car. I can just wash them.
I'll take it, Prabhuji.
Whenever possible.
Yes, I'll take it. Like yesterday, I'll do it.
Possible as Sunday feast. When will you return? Because I don't know when we are meeting.
I will return it by Sunday. Speaker, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So Prabhu, my concerns to get the good quality of treatment. And I need to do different situations. Me, so I need a I've been using a low line. Can you get me? Am I audible?
So he'll be here in a few minutes. Should I call him again?
Yes.
The network is on.
Yes, Prabhuji. Maybe for him.
Okay, sure.
Yes, a question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure.
He is actually Advait Pran, Prabhuji. And Jayapataka Maharaj's very dear disciple, Prabhuji. Maharaj stayed at his house. He is a very powerful preacher, Prabhuji.
About the class, Prabhuji. I said about ignorance, Prabhuji, like how to come out of it, how we can use that and take it further. Like, I've heard so much about getting up in the morning early and doing things, standing before Mangalati. And I have services 2 or 3 days a week, Prabhuji. I have not an option, but